Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing the astrology report for Uranus' transit through Taurus, which starts on the 6th of March 2019 and runs through until the 26th of April 2026. I'll be outlining some of the key themes that this particular transit will highlight to us and the kind of lessons that they're there for us to be learning, and giving an overview of what it all means for us. But before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology doesn't control our lives. It gives us a framework to help us understand what's unfolding around us. It gives us a context for the kind of lessons for us to be learning at this time and what kind of spiritual lessons there are to learn. But for anything to actually change in our lives physically, it requires that we take action and we participate in the process, i.e. whatever lessons are there to be learned, we make the most of each one that comes along, and we take action to seize the opportunities presented to us, whilst making sure it's guided by wisdom rather than just blind greed or blind ego, so that we make the best use of the energies rather than just doing things for our own sake and ignoring the bigger picture, as it were. Now, for Uranus in Taurus, this is the next set of lessons after what we've been learning over the past 7 years. So with Uranus in Aries, it was about awakening to the I am. It's awakening the self and realising there's more to us than the shallow labels that we'd always identified with, or the surface level of identity that we've always gone with. It was awakening the self and recognising that for any humanitarian vision to be implemented, or for anything to actually change or be made manifest, it requires that we participate and that we be willing to change ourselves and be willing to awaken to deeper levels of the self that we weren't aware of before. But now, with Uranus completely moving into Taurus after we had the taste of Uranus in Taurus last year, this is the full-on transit. So we won't experience Uranus in Aries again for about 77 years. So this transit for Uranus through Taurus, this sets a lesson which will mirror what was experienced last time Uranus was in Taurus, which is in the 1930s, so 1934 to 1942. So Uranus in Taurus, the main thing that it's asking us to awaken to is our values, but also our connection with our environment. Because Taurus deals with the value system that determines or acts as the guidance as to what courses of action that we take, what choices that we make in life. So if we don't have a clear set of values, we don't really know, we don't have a guiding principle that determines the choices that we make, and therefore we often end up adhering to the values that society espouses to us. But the ones that get espoused to us are usually materialistic, because it's based on making money, which is what society seems to determine is the best thing to be doing. But money is just the byproduct of values. If we don't have a clear set of values, then it's difficult to make wise choices with how we invest our money, how we invest finances, and so we tend to go with the status quo. Uranus in Taurus, though, is about awakening to this reality, and it's also looking at the fact that the values that we've been subscribing to so far, they've guided our choices, have led to the world that we're living in now. So Taurus is a very strong connection with the earth itself. It's about the physical resources and understanding how to implement them and how we can best use them. But one of the challenges of Taurus is about developing that detachment towards resources. So it's recognising that we don't actually own them, we steward them. So they come under our domain, if you like, or they come into our possession, but it's just there for use at a time. Anything that is part of the physical world doesn't really belong to us. If we can't take it with us, can we really say it's ours to keep? So part of Uranus in Taurus is awakening us to this reality that we can't take the material world with us. So why are we so fixated on trying to accumulate material things in order to create a sense of security, when the only place true security can be created is on the inside? So it's being secure within ourselves and having a clear set of values and a sense of detachment from the material world that allows us to enjoy the fruits of our labours, enjoy what we create, but not claim any ownership over it, because we recognise that we're just stewarding it for a time. At some point it will inevitably move on. So one of the things that we may see happening during Uranus transit through Taurus is a three-way split in terms of how people approach it. So on the one hand, people who are very materialistic or are completely bound to the ideology that we need to accumulate material goods in order to feel secure in our lives or to build a sense of security. And these are the people who may try and go on rampant materialism. On the other extreme of that, we may get a counterculture which is espousing an anti-materialism rhetoric, so seeking asceticism instead. But the midpoint is where we need to be aiming for. So rather than being obsessed with material objects or material resources or rejecting them altogether, it's learning to appreciate them and recognise that they're there for a utilitarian purpose, but it's not becoming attached to them in any way. So it's having that detachment, and it's learning to appreciate what we have and to utilise it as best we can in line with organic cycles, but not getting bound to or attached to it to the point that it causes suffering through being attached to material possessions that don't actually belong to us. They're just passing through our lives at this particular point. They've come to us because we need it at this particular time, but at some point we have to let it go because it may be that someone else needs it more than we do. So one of the things that will potentially help us move beyond that is learn the art of sharing resources again. It's about, rather than everyone having to have the same tool, as it were, it's recognising that half the time they're just sitting there unused. So rather than everyone having to have the same thing, or the whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality, is seeing, okay, well, can we share the same tools with one another so that, if we don't need it, someone else can use it rather than sitting there doing nothing. So we end up achieving more with less, as it were. So it's about paring back and simplifying our relationship with the material world. It's about letting go of believing that we have to have certain things in order to feel good or in order to feel secure within ourselves. And it's transforming our understanding of value and our sense of self-worth. So in order for us to, because this is the end result of Taurus, if you like, is having that solid sense of self-esteem and self-worth that allows us to be grounded in the material world, allows us to feel confident to take action and manifest things, but at the same time we don't feel insecure if anything's taken away. Our sense of self-worth is not tied up with what we have, it's more tied up with what we can create. So it's moving away from rampant consumerism and bringing creativity into the picture again. It's seeing, okay, how can we create resources for ourselves rather than relying on complete strangers to materialise, and how can we build communities through each person bringing their own unique skill sets and their own creative projects together, and utilising each person's skills and educating one another in how to create with the raw materials, so that we're not reliant on complete strangers to create it for us. We have that network of people who all have their own particular skill sets, or all have their own craft, if you like, or their own trades, and it's through sharing and helping each other, so supporting each other's particular gifts, or supporting each other's individual businesses, if you like, that we can then achieve more with less. So part of it will be about, could potentially be about that encouraging entrepreneurial spirit with one another. So rather, if you got, so for example, if some friends have created a business and are producing a product that we value, then it's supporting them by investing in their business, so paying them for their services rather than paying complete strangers for it. And rather than paying into big corporations and paying for convenience, it's acknowledging sometimes we may have to pay more for something that's local, but if the money's kept locally rather than going somewhere that we have no control over, then it supports the local economy instead. Taurus is also about ecology. So one of the things we may be looking at during the Uranus in Taurus transit is what impact do our financial decisions make on the environment. So are we investing our money in businesses or projects that cause destruction and pollution in the environment, or do we seek to invest our money in business that have a proven track record of sustainability and being good for the environment? So it's having that ecological awareness again, and in some cases we may decide that actually it's time to learn how to grow food for ourselves again, rather than relying on it being present in stores, as it were, and being dependent on people that we don't know in order to produce our food. It's looking at how can we come together in groups to grow our own food as a collective, and seeking to explore with how we can create new foods, if you like, or how can we return to more organic ways of doing things, because Taurus deals with the organic cycles of life, and they're the processes that cannot be rushed. So it's learning to get back in touch with the natural cycles, and rather than rushing around desperately trying to make things happen ahead of time, it's getting back in touch with the land and understanding those natural cycles and having that respect for them, and seeking to work in tandem with them. So rather than trying to make things happen beyond or at a different rate to how they're supposed to happen, it's work with those natural cycles and creating in alignment with the natural cycles that guide everything. Because for the God knows how long now there's been this strange fight between man and nature, where it's about trying to dominate nature. But the fact is, we need nature in order to survive. We can't survive without it. So maybe it's time we reevaluate that philosophy of trying to fight against nature, instead work with it. How can we because there's so much environmental damage that's been done from previous philosophies and previous ways of approaching things and previous business models. Maybe it's time to look at how can we transform business ethics in a way that is environmentally sustainable, so that we do continue to have a planet that we can live on, we do continue to have an environment that's clean, it's healthy, it's life-sustaining, and encourages more growth and boosts our health. So getting back in touch with the land, spending more time in natural environments may be a key strategy in utilising Uranus in Taurus, and waking us up to the fact that we need to operate with nature rather than fighting against it in order to continue to live and in order for us to continue to thrive. And if we can work like this way, if we can spend more time in nature and reconnect with the energies of nature again, so that we can restore the body back to what it should be. So we may find that this is a time where being grounded in the body will be a key way for us to reconnect with the Taurian energy in a healthy way, because Taurus has got the strong, being fixed earth, has the strongest connection with the physical realm, and for us personally it's the strongest connection with the physical body. So it's time to be grounded and learn to live in the here and now. It's time to seek to work in harmony with the natural cycle, so seek to grow things when it's time to grow, and allow things to die back when they no longer belong. And it's working in that manner, so we honour the natural cycles, we seek to align with it in order to go with the natural flow. And this way the amount of stress we experience should naturally diminish as we develop that patience, we develop that respect for the natural cycles. We seek to use natural solutions to resolve problems, and seek to understand how Mother Nature creates those natural balances in life, and seek to achieve that same way of doing things in our own lives. So it's being inspired by nature rather than trying to fight against it, and it's seeking to heal the environment through changing our spending patterns and seeking to do things to embrace philosophies that are sustainable. Do we see business solutions that are economical and ecological in nature? And if we can develop more sustainable business models that allow us to work with nature rather than against it, then these will be the kind of businesses that survive. I may find that some of the businesses that have generally been old school or have partially died out due to the ease and convenience of mass production, we may find that some of these sorts of businesses suddenly go through a revival of sorts as people seek to stop spending with organisations that use unethical means of production or use destructive means that harm the environment, and instead invest our money with people who are doing things in a way that's sustainable, that helps the environment and has minimal ecological footprint, as it were, or if anything improves it through encouraging the renewal of natural environments, so potentially replanting forests, or seeking to do things which minimises destruction or encourages the natural environment to be left as it is, and encourage nature to, or give nature a fighting chance of boosting the recovery of the environment. Because there have been plenty of cases around the world where people have used natural solutions to restore the environment where there's been human degradation due to human activity. There's a guy in America who opened the Sealer Ranch. He renewed natural springs, or he found ways to encourage the groundwater levels to increase again and to restore aquifers. There are people who are planting forests across the world in order to counteract the destruction that deforestation makes, and it's having profound effects on the local environment in ways that restore the water cycle in the areas as well. So there's plenty of examples, if you're keen on looking, that show that it's possible to work with nature and restore it through assisting nature's natural cycles rather than using human logic to do it. Is using nature's own mechanisms and giving it a helping hand to speed the process up. So if we can change the way we base our economic models to base it more around ecology and that respects the natural cycles and seeks to give nature a helping hand in terms of restoring the environment and making the environment clean again, so that we're no longer consuming poison in our food, we no longer have poison in the water, we don't have poison in the air. This is the kind of way that forward that Uranus in Taurus promises, but it requires that we be willing to change our value systems, and the key way of proving whether our values have actually changed or not is in our spending patterns, because it's the whole put your money where your mouth is. If we truly desire to support local businesses, then it's not enough to say it, we actually have to prove it right through our spending patterns. And it's also looking at simplifying what we spend money on. So rather than buying loads of stuff that we don't need, it's recognising that actually if we make life simpler, life becomes more peaceful, it becomes less stressful, and our bodies and minds can heal again through that grounding process of working with the land, of getting back in touch with the earth, and through that healthy relationship with the earth, our bodies, our minds and our spirits can heal again, and we can achieve that holistic relationship where we're healed within ourselves and the world itself is healing around us. So I hope this is a guide for Uranus in Taurus. It's quite a lot to take on board, but the main thing to remember is to question the value systems that we live by at the moment, because these determine our choices in terms of where we invest money. And it's also becoming more aware of the organic cycles of life, being immersed in those natural processes and aligned with the organic cycles, because when we go with those natural flows, life becomes a lot less stressful, because we're going with the process, we're no longer resisting it, and we're no longer causing ourselves to suffer through that constant resistance against what is. So may Uranus in Taurus bring you many new insights, and may it empower you to break free of any patterns or any attachments to the way things are, and may it empower a new way of doing business with one another, where it's done with the ethics of environmentally sound practice, and done in a way that fosters physical, mental and spiritual health, that gets us back in touch with nature so that we can reconnect with the energies that we've lost touch with through trying to fight against nature and walling ourselves off from it, and becoming more grounded and connected in our lives, and learning the art of sharing resources rather than it being all about me, or I want this, I want that. It's transforming those desires or those wishes into a more grounded and practical way of approaching things. And it's understanding that if we share the resources that we already have, we'll probably find that we actually have far more than we realised we had. And it's this act of sharing resources and seeking to bring our gifts together and bring our resources so that the community thrives rather than being a bunch of individuals. It's building community through the sharing of resources, of working together to work with the natural cycles. And it's about, for some, if we choose to, it's about seeking to learn how to grow our own food again and learn the old traditional skills that a lot of people have forgotten, because being raised in a society of instant gratification where you just go to the shop and you buy it and that's it, is looking to learn how to do things for ourselves again, and through this simplifying our lives, as it were. And rather than always investing money, it's instead investing our time in things and becoming masters at utilising resources in a way that's practical, that has the maximum benefit without costing the earth in the process. So make Uranus in Taurus bring you many new insights and the transformation necessary to break free of a system that, as we can see, is collapsing. So take care, and maybe many blessings and empowerment going forwards as Uranus awakens us to our deeper values and our deeper resources in life and our capacity to share rather than hoard. Take care and be blessed.